So we've got extroversion or introversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling. This last one, judging or perceiving. And don't worry too much about those words, judge or perceive, or even the sensing or intuition. The judging or perceiving is how we prefer to interact with the outside world, how we like to live our life. How do you prefer to act on decisions, and how do you live your life? Now, a J is someone who likes to get things decided, scheduled, organized, enjoys decision-making and planning, doesn't like working under time pressure. So the holiday in Scotland, okay, we've decided that's great for the J. Say the wife is a J. Now let's organize it. We're going in September 2024. Okay, well, we need passports for Scotland. No, we won't. Well, not yet. What are we going to need to take? September, it could be cold, so we might need warm clothing. Might be raining. It will be raining. So we'll need wet weather gear. Let's make a plan. What's our budget? Okay, well, we can spend then. We can buy those things then. And they will go through creating a plan. Don't want to leave it all to the last minute, because that would be disastrous for a J. For a P, they like to keep their options open. They like to be spontaneous and adaptable. I don't want to be pressurized by making decisions before I have to. Let's keep everything wide open. But they are energized by doing things in the last minute. So the J likes to have life organized and under control. The P prefers to experience life as it happens. And, you know, again, you may see this in a relationship that you have, where a J, I think this is a particular pressure that we have in our society today that impacts on couples, is that J's like to have life organized and control, which means they have to have their phones on the go all the time. Now, I know that's a whole separate question, the smartphones, their usefulness, the benefits of them, the detrimental aspects to them. But in this specific instance, a J will have their phone ready. They will not like to lose sight of things. They will want to make sure they've covered their emails off. They'll want to go into the weekend knowing that all is sorted. They'll want to keep on top. But what does it mean for a J and a P when it comes to approaching tasks and meeting deadlines? Well, a J will proceed with tasks step by step, systematically, plan ahead in good time, stick to it, tend to establish closure and order, don't like last minute rushes, like to finish ahead of the game. A P will seek to gather in information and to explore, will enjoy allowing the emerging of a line of interest that might be slightly different. A deadline will force closure, and a P can be very productive at the last minute, enjoying the adrenaline rush of a last minute process. But they do find it easier to respond and adapt if new information changes plans, whereas a J wouldn't at all. So you can see on this graph here, I hope you can see that clearly, or it's not so much a graph, it's more a drawing. As you look at that, on the left side is the sort of starting point, the task is set. And for a J, there'll be steps all the way through to the deadline when the task is complete. And some of you will recognize yourselves in this. You'll think, yeah, that's me. That's how I like to do things. So that's pretty cool. A P, on the other hand, can be like this. Left of that diagram, the task is set, the same as the diagram underneath J. The task is set, but look at those squiggles. I'll do a little bit here. I'll do a little bit there. I'll do a lot more at this point. I know I've got distracted and I'm going off piste a little bit here. But then, bang, 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 a flurry of activity to get things completed. Adrenaline rush, making it happen. Do you see that with your children, maybe? Will you get on and do your revision? You've got exams coming up. They're 2 months away. They're 3 months away. Plan your revision. Make it happen the way you need it to happen. What do they do instead? Burn the midnight oil 2 or 3 nights before the exam day. Why? Because that's their preference. So there might be some of our children who do plan, who do schedule, because that's their preference. But do you see how that can create conflict between people? I've seen this in business. I've seen it in marriages. Different preferences to doing things. Now, the thing about Myers-Briggs that's really important to remember is that these are preferences. They're how we prefer to be energized, how we prefer to gather in information, how we prefer to take decisions, how we prefer to live life. They're preferences. They don't mean that we can't do things the other way. But the introvert who's energized by being on their own, when they're in a room with lots of other people, will be drained by that. They will lose their energy. They'll get... So will an extrovert who's on their own. They will be tired by being on their own. The P, who's in a work environment where everything is structured, maybe they're in a production, the world of production, and everything has to be deadline. Stocks have to come in on time, and the production process has to happen in a particular way. It doesn't mean that they can't do that. It's just, it's not their preference, and that will be draining, or it will be dissatisfying. So when you have a connection in a marriage and you have different personality profilings coming into that marriage, you will have different preferences about how you do things, how you make decisions, how you decide to go on holiday, how you decorate a room. You know, the wife who's a J, who says, right, let's plan the decoration. The husband who's a P, who says, oh, don't bother. We'll do it in 2 weekends' time. And then 2 weekends' time comes and he's suddenly flurrying with activity, going out to the shops to buy stuff. And the wife is frustrated because he could have done that days ago. Do you see difference? When you do Myers-Briggs and you understand personality differences and you accept personality difference, then change can come. Change through communicating. This is an interesting exercise for you. When it comes through to you, I'll send it through to you, and you can do it in your own time. But what's in your fridge? That's a great one for J's and P's, because even now I can say that a J will more than likely know exactly where things go in the fridge, where the butter is, where the meat is, where the milk goes. A P will say, well, it just goes in the fridge. Doesn't matter where it is. Okay, what causes disconnections? Differences between how we live our lives. We're looking at attachment styles. We're looking at personality. We've looked at attachment styles. We've looked at personality profiles. We also want to look at drama triangles and react, respond. But I'm very aware, Shade, that we are 20 minutes to 2. If we're going to have 15, 20 minutes of question time, I don't think I'm going to do justice to these. I don't want to extend time because working to boundaries is important, and I know that other people will have places to go to. How would you like me to do this? Would you like me just to continue on, maybe look at transactional analysis and then the drama actually there's not so much to the drama triangles or the react response, so perhaps that information when it comes through in the handout will be self-explanatory. So are you happy for me to carry on with TA?
So TA and the drama triangle is self-explanatory. So like you said,
It is. Yeah, yes, without going into the detail of it, but it's another aspect. You know, people can look these things up.
yeah,
And drama triangles are part of transactional analysis as
yeah,
well. The games that people play.
yeah, play, yeah.
Um,
Can I suggest, Ken, if you just touch a bit on drama triangle and give example of how that can impact relationship in terms of between husband and wife, the game people play, how the game is played out, just touch briefly on it. And when you send the handout, the people can read further into that. So probably give an example of, drama triangle, the games we play in relationship. I'm aware it's probably a session on its own when you're
yes.
looking at. I'm aware of that, but probably just touch on it and then
So
if that's okay.
skip transactional analysis,
No,
or
no, no. Let's do
no,
transaction analysis.
TA
Yes.
and drama triangle. That's fine. Yeah.
Yes, just
Okay.
a bit on
All right.
drama triangle because of the time. Like you said, it will be great for people to ask questions.
Yeah,
It's a
sure.
lot of content, I'm aware.
There is a lot of content. I'm very
Yes.
conscious of that.
Mm,
And just for everyone, the reason I've focused on this so much, just coming back to what I said at the beginning, is that these 5 areas particularly are ones that I pick up in the therapy room, where if there was an understanding of them, an understanding of how we play these things out, how our different attachment styles rub with one another, how our different personality profiles can create conflict. If we understand these things, then that makes our marriages, and we're willing to communicate about them, then that's what gives our marriages strength. Strength in difference.
mm,
So transactional analysis, a guy called Eric Byrne put transactional analysis theory into place. And it's all about how we speak and respond to each other. Transactional analysis, basically Eric Byrne analyzed transactions. And transactions are the communications between two people. So it's simply an analysis of communication between two people. That's what transactional analysis is. And he said that there were 3 ego states: a parent ego state. An ego state is a place from which we communicate. And so there are 3 of them that he suggested: a parent ego state, where our behaviors, thoughts, and feelings have come and have generated from parents or parent figures or institutions. We imitate what we've learned. And then there's the adult ego state, where behaviors, thoughts, and feelings are direct responses to the here and now. The adult ego state is in a balanced place. It makes sense of the other ego states. It's objective, it's stable, and it's quite rational. And then there's the child ego state. And remember, these are 3 states from which we might communicate. The child ego state, behaviors and thoughts and feelings replayed from childhood, very much driven from emotion and from stuff from the past. Not necessarily negative, but the child ego state is the seat of our emotions. And we can be in these different states at different times. I was going to get you to do some exercises, but I think we'll skip those, and I will continue just to talk this out. When we talk about 2 people here, so the PAC on the left, the PAC on the right, that's 2 people going to communicate from a parent, adult, or child ego state. And a complementary transaction is where here we have a stimulus coming from the parent ego state in one person to the parent ego state in the other. So something like, we need to talk about revising that policy and implementing changes. It all sounds very highbrow, doesn't it? The response from a parent ego state from the other would be, absolutely, let's do some research and explore the options with the team. So they're communicating from the same ego state, yeah? Similarly, here's from a child ego state, well, stuff work, let's go to the beach. And the response might be, fantastic idea, count me in. Brilliant. Can you see? We'll skip this one, but when you get the handouts through, maybe you can have a look at that for yourself, a complementary transaction that you have experienced. More often than not, where conflict comes is where we have crossed transactions. And there might be a stimulus from one. Somebody's talking from an adult ego state, rational, balanced, objective. They say, we need to think about redecorating. You would hope that the person hearing that would respond from an adult place with, okay, when shall we do that? When will we think about it? Should we put a plan in place? But if they're not in that adult ego state, they might respond, for example, from a child ego state and say, oh, give me a break. I'm stressed out, working all hours. How is that going to happen? I can't manage. And that's a response, a cross transaction where it's crossing over the original intent. Another example, stuff work, let's go to the beach. And here comes the parental ego state response. Don't you think that's rather irresponsible, considering we've so much housework to do? Do you see how, depending on what ego state we're in, it can impact on how we communicate with the other? So that very briefly is transactional analysis, and something for you to think about. You know, the ideal for us is to communicate adult to adult, but we don't do that all the time. It can take work to do that. So let's very briefly then look at drama triangles, and this is connected to the parent adult child. By the way, more information on this, Sade, is you can find in the website simplypsychology.org, simplypsychology.org, and they've got a lot of good information on transactional analysis and on drama triangles and the roles that we choose to play in games. And the thing about drama triangles for me is that we can often get into a drama triangle without realizing it, without being aware of it, but we can get out of it as well. And a drama triangle is, quite simply and very, very briefly, there are three roles within a drama triangle. There's the victim, there's a persecutor, and there's a rescuer. So the persecutor, starting from that point, who might appear unkind and punishing and can make you feel bad. There's the rescuer, who appears nice and helpful, and I can make you feel good. And there's the victim, who feels hopeless, helpless, powerless. And you can either make me feel good as a rescuer, or you can make me feel bad as a persecutor. And we can get into that triangle, and we can stay in that triangle unless we become aware of it, unless we understand that it's going on. And the persecutor will frequently take up the persecuting role in order to avoid being a victim. So actually they take that part in the play you know, a drama, a play, however you want to couch it. Imagine this as something playing out on a stage. The persecutor will take up that role because they don't want to be the victim. And the rescuer is doing oftentimes something he or she doesn't want to do, something he or she wasn't asked to do, something that he or she can't do, can't rescue. And it ends up doing more than 50% of the work in this drama triangle. And their needs are not being met. He or she is not asking for what he or she wants in it all. And I think it's helpful sometimes to see interactions and relationships from this viewpoint, friendships maybe even, but certainly within families. So, you know, Shadi, you asked about an example of this. Typically, you might have a family of three. You've got, and I'm going to use stereotyping again, but you've got the dominant father, who's the head of the household, but he's a bit of a persecutor. You've got the victim, who is the 15-year-old girl, the daughter, and he, as the persecutor, has got the power to make her feel bad. You've not done your homework. You're not going out. When are you going to do what you're told? And the mum, as the rescuer, who will be there to pick up the pieces and say, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay." Somewhere in there is a communication that's going on that is stuck in these roles that needs to be broken. And that's the thing about the drama triangle. I've seen this so often, light bulb moments going on for people when they think, oh, shoo-wee, that's what's going on. I realize, and I've had this in my life, I realize that I've been a persecutor, and I know where that comes from. It comes from upbringing, modeling. This is what a good father should do. Was it heck? But that what I was modeled was incorrect. But it's what I did to my children, and it took working out, it took withdrawing from, it took again back to that understanding. It took me understanding, oh, that's what I'm doing. Why am I doing that? And then seeing the victim. And then understanding a wife who's trying to rescue in it all. And when the light bulb goes on, it's the, okay, what do we do about this? We have to address this. And you address it, and there are tears, and there are different ways then of dealing with it. Getting rid of the roles, allowing people to be who they need to be, allowing the 15-year-old child to make their own decisions to a degree about their revision or whatever it might be, or going out, but to love them in the midst of it. Taking those roles out, changing how we are in relationship with another. I'm conscious of time. We're 5-2, and I've talked about connecting. I've talked about disconnection, the different ways in which we can disconnect. We didn't talk about react, respond, but I only had one slide on that. And reactions are when we are very immediate with how we answer something. It's very emotional. Things are not thought through, and words can cause more problems than they solve. Responding is taking time, counting to 10, stepping back, responding in a non-emotive way, thinking through carefully how we answer, and that oftentimes will cause more solutions than problems. But I did want to go on to reconnecting, and I only had one slide on that. And you're going to think, well, that's a bit weird, because we did a lot on connecting, we've done a lot on disconnecting. Why is there only one slide on reconnecting? The reason is, reconnecting is about work. Shadi emphasized that, and I saw that on your material, Shadi. We work at our marriages. It's about praying. It's about being turned inwards and communicating back to that green communicate with 2 ears and 1 mouth. We were made to listen more than to speak. I love this question. If you're looking for something practical to take into your marriage, I love this question that I found on a different marriage training course that Susie and I ask each other every morning. How can I support you today? It means we're turned in towards one another, and we're looking to see what we can do to meet the other person's needs. So our ego is set aside. Reconnecting is about breaking the cycle, recognizing the drama, perhaps recognizing the different ways in which we work and breaking those cycles. And those 3 things that I've emphasized all the way through today: understanding each other through these different theories, accepting each other for who we are, for who God has made us to be. That is how understanding, accepting, that is how change will come. And it's not necessarily about changing the other person. In fact, it isn't about changing the other person. It's about changing self. And understanding the other person, understanding ourselves, accepting the other person, accepting ourselves. Change will come to us, and change will come to marriage as well. And that's where the reconnecting happens. I love this last piece. I read this just this morning. I am an expression of the divine, just like a peach is, just like a fish is. I have a right to be this way. I can't apologize for that, nor can I change it, nor do I want to. We will never have to be other than who we are in order to be successful. We realize that we are, as ourselves, unlimited, and our experiences valid. It's for the rest of the world to recognize this if they choose. You have choice. You have choice to understand and to accept and to see change come in your marriage. That at 2 o'clock is where I will stop.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you. That's really impactful session. A lot to take in, but very good stuff. Thank you so much, Ken.